Hi, I'm Liselle and welcome back to my channel where I talk about all things writing, traditional publishing, and a little bit of reading. And this is the December vlog where I'm basically going to be working on editing the first draft of the second book in my new YA Dark Academia trilogy that's coming out starting as of when you're watching this, it'll actually be the new year. So coming out this year in June 3rd. And exciting news about that, I got my ARCs in the mail. So this is a Master of Monsters coming out June 3rd of this year, as of the time that you are watching it. Right now, I'm still in December. It's only December 1st actually today. But here it is and it's so beautiful. I'm gonna try and get my face out of it so that you can see how wonderful it is. And I'm in love with this spine because you can see the bird shadow in it, and then the little throwing knife at the end, which is the main character August's weapon of choice, is the throwing knife. And yeah, I'm so excited to have it in my hands and to have it with me. And yeah, it's just like, oh, here's my book and I'm holding it physically. I feel like when I get physical, my ARCs, which I'm very lucky to get physical ARCs. I do want to say not every author in TradPub gets physical ARCs anymore. And so I'm very lucky that I do get them because it's a really good piece of marketing, and it's nice because then I get to pre-hold my book in my hands and take pictures and all of that stuff, and it's just really amazing. And this is a stage in which I most feel like, oh, it's a real book now. It's a real book. And yeah, she thick, but you kind of knew that was the score if you know me at all as an author. That's just the way it goes. That's the way I do it. And speaking of thick books, let's do my update about starting editing that second book in this trilogy. So in the end of November, I took a little bit of a break because I had my birthday. November 30th is my birthday and I celebrated. I don't really post about it online because, to be honest, I don't like having to respond to everyone. Because I appreciate when people are like, oh, happy birthday, but then it's my birthday and I want to do nothing and chill. And so if I post about my birthday, then everybody is like, happy birthday, and then I have to respond to everybody being like, thank you so much. And I just I know I don't have to respond to everybody, but I feel that I do, and so I just don't post about it. In this case, in a vlog, it's fine because people are gonna probably post about comment and stuff anyway, so I don't mind, and it's not my birthday anymore, so I'm cool to be answering comments and that sort of thing. But that's why I usually don't post about it. But yeah, I turned 33, which, yeah, it's so interesting. I feel like when I was very young, when I was in my late teens and 20s, I feel like I thought that 30 was so old. And I really don't at all feel that way anymore, which is funny. But yeah, I feel like 30s have been a good time for me. I feel very settled in myself, which is good. And I'm very excited to be releasing my first, oh my gosh, I've turned 33, and well, it's not the same year. Actually, this year in 2025, I'm going to turn 34. So I was going to say 33 and releasing a trilogy, the first book in a trilogy, but that is not the case. Anyway, I digress. I will get back on topic. So yes, because of that whole thing, I didn't film the last week of November, which is when I started working on the edits for this second book. So I wrote a first draft, I planned everything I needed to edit, and I've actually started the edits now. And what I want to tell you is I've edited 12 chapters so far. In those 12 chapters, I think I added three new chapters, maybe four new chapters I added. Some of these are scenes, but I think 4 new chapters. And in that process, I've added 10,000 words to the manuscript. I think I have, how many chapters do I have? Something like 50, no, it might be in 60s by now. Anyway, there's a lot of the book left. I basically worked on 10% of the book and had 10,000 words. And so it is now at 125,000 words. And I suspect that when I am done my full edit to send it off to my editor, it will probably be 150,000 words, which for reference is around the amount of words in A Mastery of Monsters. So yeah, the second book will be larger because I know that when me and my editor get together, suddenly there's like 25,000 extra words that proliferates. So I expect that that will happen. But I'm okay with it. I've just accepted it in myself that this might be just a very large book, and I accept it. But I think the thing that I'm very happy about, that I realized when I did my read through of the first draft, is that it is pacey. So even though it's a big book, the pace is so fast. Like, it was a really, really fast pace on that draft before I'd even added stuff. And it's because it's just like, it's very action packed. There's all these different like battle matches, like these sort of like 2-on-2 battles is what's happening throughout the book. And so there's so much of that happening. There's like separate battles. There's mystery solving. There is a love triangle. I will go ahead and say that now. There is the existence of a love triangle in the second book. And so all those things like happening. There's also a lot of background mysteries. There's a new point of view character. And so all those things come together, and I feel like it makes it it feels so fast. Which I'm really happy about. So even though it's a big book, I feel like it reads really well and reads really quick. So I'm happy about that, and I'm hoping that even as I add in these things that I can keep that pace and keep it really pacey like that. And I think that will go well. But yeah, so far it has meant I have a much bigger workload than I usually have. So usually what I like to do is I start at 9 a.m. and I like to kind of finish my day at 12. That's really how I try and work. And that has just like not been the case for this. I have too much to do. Most of the days I am both having to write a new chapter and having to edit 1 to 2 chapters. So I'm basically each day I'm working on 3 chapters each weekday, but sometimes I have to write something. And on Friday I had to write 2 chapters and edit 1. And before I was writing the chapter, and then I was going back, and then I was doing this full edit of it, and I've just accepted, just with how much I have to do, I was like, I can't be doing that. So when I write in new chapters, they're basically first drafts, but I will say my deadline for this is for a first draft, and I've already done a first draft, and now I'm doing this edit, and I'm adding all this stuff. So like, it is expected, I think, to be a little bit messy, and so I think what I have is actually quite clean. So yeah, that's pretty much where I'm going forward, what I'm doing. And I'm already feeling really good about the changes because there are some of those things where when I was drafting, I realized like partway through that like, oh, I probably should have been talking about this the whole time, and I just like couldn't go back and do it, so I plowed forward, and now I'm getting to like put in all those touches and add all those details and get to put that together. And I can feel those characters that I felt like had dropped off and like didn't have as much presence as they should. I can now feel those characters really like stepping into the limelight and like feeling a lot more of their presence, which I'm really excited about. I also think I'm doing very good with the second love interest. I feel like I'm doing a good job in like building him up a little bit more, so I'm really happy about that, and getting that POV character, not POV character, one of the main characters, Corey, whose arc had kind of dropped off. I feel like I'm doing a much better job building her arc out from the top now, and I feel like it fits so much better with her character. So even though these edits are a lot of work, I'm now working right up until 5, sometimes after 5, with like a very short break in between. So full work days for me, but I feel like it's coming together really well, and I can feel the work that I've put in really kind of solidifying, and I'm really pleased with it, and I feel like I'm doing good work, so I'm happy about that. But yeah, so I will check in with you again, I guess at the end of this week. Yeah, why not?
Traffic ain't a waste of time when you were there to hold my hand, but I've had it with the 405 since you said I'd missed my last chance. But
Okay, so now I am, I guess, technically a couple weeks into this edit, and it's going well. I'm like very pleasantly surprised. Not that I thought it was gonna go badly per se, but I mean it's a lot to do. It's a lot to do, because I think I actually ended up adding like it's like 15 new pieces of content. Sometimes it's a new chapter, but sometimes it's just like a new scene in addition to a chapter that already existed. Like I just wanted to add a second scene or something like that, which because of the length of my scenes, it may as well be a chapter. But yeah, it's going forward really well. I'm pleased with the character changes. So basically, I had a lot of issues in which I was feeling like some characters that needed to be more prominent in the narrative were not. And I wanted them to come forward a little bit more and like be a little bit more involved. And so I feel like that's happening now. Like I'm getting to pull those characters in more, which is good. And I'm pleased with how everything is kind of coming together. I think the new content is very helpful in building up the mentorship relationship between the main character and a professor, which I felt like wasn't really coming across the way I wanted it to. And now, because I've added in a bunch of chapters to like give them more time, just them, I feel like that's helping a lot. I also added structure to a lot of the kind of like training sessions, which were feeling a little bit like all over the place, but I added a little bit more structure. So they have these like group meetings that they do with the same professor, and so I added structure really to those, and I feel like that's made a big difference. I also feel like it really helps with the like the dark academia feel of it, because it feels like a lesson. It feels like a structured lecture, and that's what I want, because this is like an interesting sort of book and series. In that they're attending a typical university, and then they are doing this kind of like secret society lessons on top of it. And so that's, I think, where you get the most kind of that dark academia feel, is that like secret society sort of lessons, and then integrated with like just the regular situation of just going to regular school, which I am like bringing forward more, which I'm happy about, and like making sure that I'm talking about different people's majors and that sort of thing, and their kind of like life goals and that sort of thing. So I'm pleased about that. And also what I'm really happy about is the mystery, because like the main mystery of this book, I mean, there's kind of like several different mysteries that are actually connecting to each other, and I felt like that really wasn't clear. Like it really wasn't coming forward that those things were connected or interlinked in any sort of way, and I feel like now I can feel that, and I feel like it's even more clear in my mind. Like I can see all the connections between everything that is happening, and I think that has made it like, I think that will make it much more clear to the reader as well, which I'm also very pleased about. I think the only thing I'm kind of like, I'm not really sure at this point, is because this book has a love triangle, and so I needed some time to more establish the second love interest. And I wonder, I don't know, in some ways I'm like, have I overdone this? Like have I leaned too hard one way because I was trying to give that character time to be established? Like, is the other love interest like not as prominent as he needs to be? So that's my only kind of iffy thing that I wonder about, like if that's something I'll need to kind of fix or do better with. Or if this is actually like a good balance, I don't know. It's hard to tell, because I mean the first book is all him, all one. And so then the second book, there's like more of a dynamic. I don't know. Anyway, that's something to ponder on. But yeah, I think it's coming together really well. We're at almost 140K. So, and I'm not even at the midpoint yet. started at 1:15. So yeah, we'll just see how much this little baby grows. And it'll be what it has to be. And once me and my editor work on it, we can kind of figure out, okay, what's necessary, what's not, that sort of thing. But I'm pleased with this, and I feel like the pacing is still good, but I feel like I'd have to read it through to really feel like it. But all those action beats, all of those like exciting things that are happening, all that is still happening. But I have had to put a little bit more in between different stuff, and I don't know if that's slowing it down or not, but I guess we'll see. But overall, going really well. I'm tired. I'm super tired. I'm so tired. I'm very tired. I am writing anywhere between 1,000 to 3,000 words a day, because of just like the schedule to get it done in time for deadline while also taking a week off for holidays, has kind of just meant that like, usually when I do edits, if I have to draft a chapter, like I make it so that's the only thing that I have to do in a day. And that's just, it can't be that way this time. And so some days I'm drafting a chapter and then editing 2 others. Some days I'm drafting 2 chapters and editing 1. And so it's just like, it's a lot of work, and I'm feeling it, and I'm tired. I also have some other things that I'm doing in the background that I can't really get into. It's not like special book things or publishing things or anything like that. It's just separate stuff that is also work. And so that's kind of adding on a little bit. And so I think probably, well, a lot of my plans have changed. You'll see when I do my whole beginning of the year thing talking about my projects and stuff. A lot of things have changed. I've said things in some, maybe even in this vlog, but certainly in some previous vlogs, and I've now just like changed my mind on things. So things will be different, but essentially I will be giving myself a little bit more kind of recovery time in January. Hope that my editor doesn't flip this edit back to me in like a week. I would like to have a little bit more time. So we'll see, but I mean, it's gonna be massive. It's probably gonna be 160,000 words, the draft that I send over. So I don't know, but she is kind of superhuman, so she might flip it in a week, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm not gonna stress about it. I'm not gonna get in my head about it. Overall, I'm pleased with how the edits are going. I'm just really tired. I'm so tired. I'm so tired. But yeah.
That you've been asking about me. If I tried though to get you back, would you let me? It might take some time to change your mind. Maybe everything we can make it right. This take me back in your eyes, blinking at me like a caution light. I wonder if you see it. I don't really need a single other reason to make you mine. It might take some time to change your mind. I know. I wish I never let you go. If I took you for a top-down drive, just you and me and an empty road, maybe I can make it cross your mind. Jump back in, baby, go, go, go. Oh, I know that you've been asking about me. If I tried though to get you back, would you let me? Oh, it might take some time to change your mind. Maybe everything we can make it right. This take me back in your eyes, blinking at me like a caution light.
Hello. We are getting so far into this second book. I feel like I can see the finish line now. Yeah, I'm very excited. Also, I thought I was gonna have to work this weekend, and then I did a lot of rearranging, and now I don't. So I'm very happy about that. Because I was feeling, the dread. I was like, I'm just gonna have to work for 12 days straight. It is wild to me that I used to, like in the past when I did writing, I used to write every single day until I was done whatever phase that I was in. So if I was drafting, I draft every single day for like 30 days. If I was editing, every single day. I just like, I was like, why did you do that to yourself? Oh, terrible. Just a terrible way to do it. When I was working full time at like a day job, I was doing that. And I was like, I don't know why I did that to myself. But I will say my work, I guess maybe I was doing less. I don't know. It was wild. I don't know how I did that. I guess I was younger. I wasn't like, I guess I was like 20. Oh man, how old was I? I don't even know anymore. 24? Anyway, I was younger, so I kind of get why maybe I was doing it like that. But I'm not that age anymore, and I certainly cannot. I need that weekend break so much, especially with these edits. It has just been like so draft heavy that I'm just like, I'm tired. I'm so tired. And I needed this break. But anyway, how are things going with the writing? So the writing is going well. I am getting closer to this finish line. I feel like I'm doing good with like the romantic tension thing I have going on, and kind of the dynamics of the whole love triangle thing. I feel like I'm doing good with that. The mystery is flowing so much better, just like leaps and bounds better. I just like, you can properly see all the connections of how everything is coming together, whereas before it was just like, what is happening? And it's kind of, you know, I find my mysteries in fantasy to be really interesting, and they're very different than the mysteries I do in like a thriller or horror. When I do a mystery in a thriller or horror, I'm trying to have the reader figure it out. Like I'm trying to give them enough that they can like have the fun of like trying to figure it out, because that's part of like the fun of a thriller. Like it's a different sort of thing. Whereas I find that when I do like a mystery in fantasy, I'm like, I just want you to get this. There might be some things, you'll certainly have theories, and like the breadcrumbs are there, like they're laid out, but I feel like the focus is more, I just want you to understand what's happening as this is unfolding. I want you to understand how everything's going together. I want it to feel logical to you. And so I feel like that's the difference between, for me, like writing a fantasy mystery and the thriller mystery. The fantasy mystery, you need to understand the logistics of what's happening, whereas like the thriller horror, you need to be able to have lots of guesses and have a fun time guessing, and like be interrupted with like twists and turns and like reversals and all of that stuff. And it's important to have a lot of that movement, so that you can enjoy that process. And I think that's kind of like the difference for fantasy. So that was the problem with this mystery, this fantasy mystery, is that it wasn't logical. So now it is, and I really feel like that. I really feel like you can see how everything is coming together, and I also think it's exciting how everything is coming together. I feel like it's one of those things where it's like, oh my gosh, like there's this like moment where something that has like been in the first book the whole time, it just kind of comes out in a different light, and I feel like that'll be fun for readers to be like, oh my gosh, is that what like was going on? And of course I knew that's what was going on from the beginning. But now it's kind of fun. It's like a fun like series level payoff, so that's exciting. And so how I was able to, I thought I was gonna have to work over the weekend, because here's how my original plan was. I was going to work up against my holiday. I was gonna take my week holiday, and then I was gonna come off my holiday and work for 2 days and finish just in time for my deadline. And I realized that was very silly, because I knew that during the holiday I would just be dreading having to do the 2 days of work. So I was like, you know what, I'll just work on the weekend before, and then I'll be done everything, take 2 weeks of holidays at minimum. And I was like, okay, that's way better. That's much better. So then I was like, oh, well, I have to work over a weekend. And I was like, oh, whatever, I'll just do it. But then when I went to set things up, I went to like write a chapter and I was like, I don't think this is a full chapter. I think this is a scene. Just like given the length of the chapters and how they've been expanding, like the chapters are closer to like 3,000 words each. And so I was like, this is a scene, because I don't think this is going to be like 2,000 or 3,000 words. I think it's going to be like 1,000 words. And so I was like, where can I take what I thought would be full chapters and connect them to different scenes? And then when I did that, I cut down like 5 would-be chapters and they became scenes. And so then I didn't have like as much to do. And the way I work is I do 3 chapters a day. And so when I cut down the amount of chapters, I cut down the amount that I was doing per day, though technically it's still the same amount, but they're scenes instead of chapters. It's a whole thing. But anyway, what it meant is I didn't have to work on the weekend. So that was great. And it's also good for me because it kind of cuts down like unnecessary word count, because I know if I had designated something as a full chapter, that I feel like I would start like dragging my feet and adding words to like fill up the chapter. Whereas if I designate it as a scene, like it's just gonna be what's absolutely necessary for that scene. And so I was like, okay, I need to know what's a scene, what's a chapter. So that was really helpful and really good. So yeah, I only have 1 week left of doing these edits, which I'm very excited about, because these books are a process. They're such a process. Like, it basically doubles every amount of time that I usually take to do something. So like, I can draft a book in like a month and a half for like a fantasy book. A thriller that I'm purposely trying to make shorter, I could do in a month for sure. These books, 2 months, maybe 2.5 months. Like, I need much more time because of the intricate amount of world building. When I'm plotting, I keep like being like, I'll just take like a month for this, and then I like go in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I need like way more time to plot this. Need like 2 months to do the edits. It's just it's a much longer process because of everything that's involved. So yeah, it's a little bit more lengthy, and so I admit that I am tired, but it's good. It's all good. And like, just a general a Mastery of Monsters update, my release date has changed. So I was gonna be releasing June 3rd, now it's gonna be July 29th, which I addressed. Is the wrap-up video coming before this video? I can't remember. I think it is. So you'll have heard me address it in the wrap-up video already, but if you haven't, if you didn't watch that wrap-up video, I basically yeah, it's like a sales reason. I could try and like explain a little bit more in the vlog than I could in the wrap up. But basically, so when your publisher in traditional publishing is trying to put out your book, what the sales team is doing is they're going to all the different retailers and they're having conversations about your book. The degree of those conversations varies between books. So if you're a lead title, feature title, whatever, which I have been told A Mastery of Monsters is, then they'll probably talk about your book more. And so then there's potentially certain positioning that retailers might want to try and give your book a little bit of like more support or a better shot, or they think this time works better or that time works better for them, that sort of thing. And if your publisher feels like that retailer is significant enough for it to be worth it to kind of shift dates, that's kind of something that happens. But it's not a guarantee that the retailer is going to do anything like fancy for you. Like they might, but it's not like a guaranteed sort of thing. And so it was just that one of those things where like a retailer was like, what about this date? And so that's why we shifted it. But to me, those sorts of shifts are always potentially positive, again, because maybe that retailer might do something special. Given that you shifted it, might not, it's not a guarantee, but it's one of those things where it's kind of like, yeah, if it's not gonna upset anything, let's just do the shift. And to be honest, I also really like this because I think it kind of gives us like a wider breadth for marketing time, which I think is better. Like the more time you have to kind of like hype up the book, I think the better, to be honest. And so I really like that because I think that will give us like a better lead up time. I feel like that's also why I like being in summer instead of like spring. But yeah, so I think it's all generally, I feel like, going to be a very positive sort of thing. So that's where it's going to be positioned now. Is going to be end of July. And other than that, I do have some reading to talk about. I have done some reading. I don't know, I've been like real, I don't even know if it's slumpy. I think I've just been like distracted. And I think, I don't know, maybe like super concentrating on this book has just made me tired. I don't know what it is, but I hadn't really been doing any reading, which was like sad to me because I do like to like keep up my reading and that sort of thing. But this month I'm already off to a flying start. I've been doing really well with my reading. So I thought I'd just like chit chat a little bit about some of the books I've been reading and that sort of thing. So the first one I read was Clown of Cornville 3, The Church of Friendo. I have 1 and 2 here. I haven't got my 3rd copy yet. So here's the thing. Here's the thing. In Canada, my like book sales, like the first week sales, to my knowledge, do not count for New York Times bestseller list, that sort of thing. And so I feel like I have a little bit more time to get on the ball. And this year I've been wanting to support indie bookstores a little bit more. And because I live in a place where the closest indie bookstore is 4 hours away, I keep waiting until like I'm in Toronto or I'm somewhere else to buy a book. And so that means that I haven't been like buying my new releases as immediately. The only things that have kind of been coming to my house are special editions because obviously I'm not going to get those in the bookstore. So I'm late on getting my copy, but I will be getting my copy. I'm just waiting until I go down to Toronto for the holidays, especially because we'll be driving, so I could get so many books. So then I'm gonna go and I'm gonna buy my books at that point. But anyway, Clown of Cornville 3, I will flash up the cover before I have books 1 and 2. These are by Adam Caesar, and I love these books. Like these books, like for young adult slasher, like these are amazing, amazing books. If you want to read slashers that read like movies, like that really feel like really good slasher movies, like these are so good. I absolutely love these. And so I read the 3rd one. I was on the edge of my seat. And man, I won't spoil things, but given that ending, I was like, I have some, I'm very intrigued. I'm very intrigued, and looking forward to what might happen. I also saw Adam Caesar announced like a new YA recently, which I'm also really excited about. The synopsis escapes me in this moment, but I just remember being like, I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna be there. For his books. So I'm really excited about that one. So yeah, I read Clown of Cornville 3, Church of Friendo. It had like this really good twist in the middle too, where I was like, oh, it was really fun. And just like the characters are so good, and it's just, yeah, it was a fun time. And I wasn't sure, because this one kind of like, it's a different sort of setting, and I feel like each book has had a different sort of setting, but like a similar cast of characters, and this one, it kind of switches up the cast a little bit. But I was actually really excited about the new characters that came in, and it just had such a good like creepy tone. Oh, just great. And then I read Guillotine by Delilah S. Dawson. This is like a novella, and it's basically about like this girl, she goes to this rich guy's family's private island, and stuff goes down. It's a novella, so it's really short. I feel like the back copy probably says more than even what I said, but you know, I didn't want to accidentally spoil things. But this was just like, it was a fun time. It was just like a super fun time to watch. It's very, very The Menu, very, what's that other book? Ready or Not. Not book, it's a movie. Very The Menu, very Ready or Not, just like a fun time. Very like Eat the Rich fun time. So I really like that one. Also the cover is gorgeous. Maybe at some point, maybe I'll grab a physical copy for myself at some point in the future. Maybe on paperback. Maybe on paperback. In Canada, adult hardcovers are, they're significantly priced. They're significantly priced. And yeah. So sometimes I wait for a paperback, I do. And then I read Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. This is the Evernight exclusive, which is like gorgeous. It's got the eyes, the little like spoon. Yeah, I just like, there's like, I guess I should have warned you if you don't like seeing eyes. I guess I should have warned you. But anyway, I read Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. I actually read this on audio on Everand, just because I was in like an audio kind of mood space. And so even though I own it physically, I read it on audio. And yeah, this is like, it's a good for her book. I would say it's a good for her book. It also had like a twist at the end where I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I was like, okay. But essentially it's about this girl. She's in college. Her mom, her dad has recently left their family, like he left their mom. And she's kind of in a stressful point of her life. She's kind of lost the friend group that she did have. She kind of feels very sort of alone. And then her mom starts dating this guy who just sucks. Very misogynist, very fetishizing, and in the midst of this, she starts to develop this fascination with eyes and eyeballs and the idea of eating eyeballs. So that is what happens in the book. And yeah, you know what? I thought it would be a little bit more gross with the eyeball thing, but I think I was actually good. I don't really have a thing about eyeballs. I touch my eyes all the time, which I know is bad. But I don't know if it's because like my eyes are really big. Like I don't know what it is. But I've always been like good with eyeballs. Like when I take eyelashes out, I just touch my eyeball directly. I got contacts. I wasn't squeamish about it. So maybe I was like more on board with eyeballs. But certainly like if you're a little bit squeamish, this will just like send you over with the eyeball stuff. But I thought it was fun. I liked it. So yeah, eyes are the best. The eyes are the best part. And finally, I read Cuckoo by Gretchen Felker Martin. Yes, Felker Martin. This author, I read Manhunt by her. I don't know when Manhunt came out. I don't know. I think I thought Cuckoo came out this year, but it might have come out. I don't know. Did it come out this year? Yeah, I think it did. Anyway, I digress. So Cuckoo is about a group of queer teens that are taken to a conversion camp in the desert. Something odd happens, and then years later they come back to kind of confront what happened there. And I would say like, I think I thought that it was like a half, but like the time jump is more like the last kind of 25%, I would say. And I just absolutely love this. I love this. I'm definitely considering this like a favorite read of the year. There's something about her writing that is so, it's like very visceral. It's very raw. Like I never feel like there's no sort of filter. Like it feels so like as it is. Like I don't really know how to like express, but it just feels really realistic. There's a lot of characters in this book and I really felt connected to all of them. And I think the thing that was so like that really hit me with this book is that I could really understand why the characters were the way they were. You could trace it back to not only the experience at this camp, but also to like the snippets of their life that you had been given of like their parents and how they were raised, the time period, because when they're at the conversion camp, it's like 1995, and then we time jump until like 2015-ish. And so I just feel like I could trace it, like when they would make decisions and they would do things, I fully understood it. It wasn't ever the sort of situation in which like a character is doing something like for the plot. Like everything that the characters did could be traced back to like these experiences that you had seen them had, and it felt like they were so real people, just complete rounded people with just like full lives, like to the point where you can like, you know, when you finish a book and you can like catalog into the future, like you feel like you can think about everything that that character is going to be doing afterwards, because they're just like such a full and rich character that they feel so real. You can just like imagine them beyond the book, and that's how all these characters felt. I also feel like there's so much in terms of like symbolism and messaging within this book. I feel like this is a sort of book where like you could be in a book club and like talk about it for hours. There's just so many things in there about like that I really felt about like community, and also about like self-loathing and that sort of thing. Just like so many different messages that you could pull out of here. It just like was so in depth, and the horror was very good. I mean, it's like some pretty grotesque stuff, some pretty grotesque descriptions, but also like the horror of that situation of being in a conversion camp, of all the things they went through in their home lives and after, and kind of like the horror of living with trauma, really. And yeah, it was just so good. I'm certainly considering Gretchen like an auto-buy author at this point. Like I'm ready to pick up anything that she writes in the future. And yeah, just this was so good. I highly recommend if you're like a horror fan, if you like an upmarket sort of horror, really character driven, doppelgangers. This is like a great one.
Would you let me? Oh, it might take some time to change your mind. Maybe everything we can make it right. Just take me back in your eyes, blink at me like a caution light. I wonder if you see it. I don't really need a single other reason to make you mine. It might take some time to change your mind. I know.
We're done. Oh, I'm so excited. So excited to say that I'm finished this draft, this second draft. I am done. It is finished. It is 155,000 words, which it is what it is. It is what it is. Like there's so much to get through. But I do think that it's still gonna have that paciness. I guess I won't really know until I read it through again. Once my editor gets it back to me in the new year, I'll probably read it through one more time, just because I want to be cognizant of that pacing. Like I want to be able to make sure that it still feels pacey, the way I want it to feel. Or I don't know, maybe I'm not the best judge of that. Maybe I'll send it to my friend after. But anyway, it is finished. I'm really excited. I am ultimately very happy with the product. I think this is a very good, very solid second draft. And all of those bits and pieces that I needed to fix and needed to make better from my first draft, I can see that I've really solidified that in the second draft. I think the main character's arc is much better. I do like, there are little bits and pieces where I'm like, like looking back, I'm like, oh, that might be something I need to like strengthen a little bit, or like this I need to strengthen and this I need to do this and that. But they feel small. It doesn't feel like there's nothing in the book that I'm like, oh, this needs a full overhaul. Like, I can't think of a single thing. So I guess we'll see what my editor says. I can't think of a single thing that needs a full overhaul. But to me, it's like some things maybe need a little bit more fleshing out or need a little bit more kind of conclusion or wrap up or whatever. I'm feeling that a little bit now. I'm like, okay, I could see where this happens and this happens and this happens. But I cannot conceive in this present time and moment of anything that I would be like, oh, this needs to be completely restructured or whatever. I don't think there are any, like, I was like, I could see some character arcs that I can maybe add on to a bit more, but it's no longer that thing in which I feel like there are arcs that are completely inconsistent or like don't make sense, or characters, that thing of like characters disappearing. I don't feel like I feel that as much. I do feel like I can see some characters maybe needing a little bit more, just because some characters, like, their arc ends before the book ends, so it ends like closer to like the middle bit, and then I'm kind of like, okay, that's the closing there, and then I continue on, and so I think some of them maybe could have a little bit more presence even though their arc is completed, not just kind of disappear, which they are still in there, but I don't know if they need to be in there more. So there are definitely some little tiny things where I'm like, now that I'm finished, of course, but I think this is, for everything of like getting it to my editor and having her take a look and like getting her feedback at this point, I feel like is very, very solid. And I'm really happy with all of that. And I think that's been done really well. And yeah, other things is just like little, like, it feels more like small kind of second, like little tweaks, it feels more like, than like big overhaul sorts of things. And I think the only thing that might stand out is there is something, kind of mentally that is happening with the main character, and I do wonder if my editor will maybe want more of like a top to bottom, like a basis explanation of what's happening, whereas I've left it a little bit more free flowing. So I feel like that's the only thing that kind of really stands out to me, but I'm very excited about it. I think this is gonna be such a good second book. Like, it has that feel to me of like a second book that feels better than the first, not because the first is bad. The first is very good, please buy the first book. But it's just like that ramping up, like it gave me what I wanted, which is like when I think of like the Hunger Games, like the first Hunger Games book is so good, but I love the second more because that the world and the characters are already established, and so you can dig deeper, and like it builds on those stakes that we had in the first book, and it kind of turns them around and twists it and does something different with it. And I feel like that's why I love Catching Fire the most, is because it has built on that foundation of the Hunger Games, and that's what I feel like I am getting from this, which is exactly what I want. Exactly what I want, because I always feel like in a series, like, I want the next books to feel better than the previous one, because it's, for one, it's really hard to do that. It's really hard to do that. In a series, people just tend to like the first book the most. And I feel like that's just something I've observed. Whenever you do a series, people just tend to be like, the first book is, I love that the most. And so if you can get another book in the series, like if you can get people to be like, I love that even more than I love the first one, to me, that's a big win. And you need that because there's gonna always be that bias towards the first book. And for me, doing a trilogy, I also really need that because I want people to think, or to be like, oh my gosh, the second book was better than I even felt the first one was. So I'm expecting the third to be even better than that. And that's what I want. I want it to feel like each book is building is even better. You know, I want you to rate book 1 5 stars and then be like, I don't know, I gotta make my scale higher because I love this one even more. That's what that's what I'm aiming for with my series. And so I feel like this second book is a very, very good foundation for that, and that's only the second draft. But I'm also very happy to have a break because I'm so tired. I'm so tired. I looked back at my calendar because I was like, how long have I been working on this second book? I was like, because the way that I've done my projects, because I decided to focus in on just my Mastery of Monsters stuff. Usually I'm like doing all these different things, and I was like, I just need to focus on this just because it requires so much from me. And so I was like, how long have I been working on this? I went back since June. June is when I was like, okay, time to plot the second book, and I've just been continuously working on this book the whole time. Just like, I work on it, I finish a chunk, and then I'm on to the next one. And I've just been doing that since June for 6 months. And I was like, no wonder I feel tired. And I know it's like, I guess it would sound silly because I feel like most people work on one book continuously for whatever period of time, but I feel like I'm so used to jumping around to different projects. It makes, I don't know, I guess it gives me a feeling of a break. Maybe that's just the way my attention span is. Maybe I do need time to like float to other things sometimes. Because yeah, I feel like it's just made me feel tired, but it needed all of that time. It needed all of that time and space and energy, just because of like how big this world is. And I'm sure you can see because I said the second draft of this book is 155,000 words. I think the second draft of A Mastery of Monsters was like 105,000 words, something like that. So yeah, I had a lot to build on. I had a lot to get done. And so I feel like I needed all of that time, and it's going to be the same thing, you know, in this new year. By the time you're seeing this video, it's going to be the new year. It's going to be the same thing with that third book, because I'm planning to start plotting it in like June. So I'm gonna still need all of that time too. It's just gonna be a long bit, and I think that's why, because at this point you've probably already seen my video. Have you seen my video talking about, anyway, the other project, the adult horror that I'm gonna work on? And I think that's why I was like, I just need to slot this into spaces and time, because I do still have to keep my focus on getting this third book done. So yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm very happy to be done. I also started working on the playlist for the third book because I was like, let me just like get some songs in there and like think of stuff. And I like just found all of these like really banger songs, and now I have all these like scenes in my head from the third book of like, oh, this could be this and this could be that and this could happen here and da, 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 da. And so I'm getting excited about working on the third book. Yeah, I just like, I have big plans for it. I've always had big plans for it, and I just thinking of those coming together, I'm so excited about. My only thing with the third book now is, I'm just gonna go ahead and talk about the third book again before the first is even out. But my thinking about it, I'm still back and forth on the beginning of the book, because timing wise, the second book ends at the end of the winter semester, the last semester of first year, freshman year. And so my plan originally was that the third book would be the summer, be set in the summer before second year. But it's a dark academia. I was like, they have to be in school. I was like, I don't want to set something in the summer when they're not, when school isn't in session. And so I was like, do I include that whole summer in the book, and like do the summer and like do some time jumps? I don't know. I just don't think it works. And so I was like, I think I should time jump to September and start from September and just like do it from there. And like, then it could be like a fun thing for the reader of kind of like unfolding what has happened with the characters over the summer. But I don't know if that will piss people off, because they'll be like, but I wanted to see what happened during the summer. You know what I mean? But I also think it would be so boring, and I think it would slow the pacing down so much to start in the summer. And then I gotta do 3 months of summer? Not even that, more. Because like, when you're in university, like the session ends in April. So it would be May, June, July, August. 4 months! And so I was like, do like 4 months before we even get into the school semester? Like, I just feel like that would be terrible to read. I just feel like I should just start in September, and then I can do a little filling in of like this is kind of what you've been up to during the summer, and just time jump it, just go straight to September. You know, as in the series that will not be named because of the TERF author, just start in September and like move on from it. I just feel like that's probably the way to go. But I don't know, this is where I will crowdsource this. I would love to hear your opinions on this third book when the first book isn't even out. Do you think it's better to start in summer and show the whole summer and like time jump around in there to like make it to the first semester? Like maybe the whole first act is summer and then second act can start from the beginning of the semester? Or do you think it's better to time jump all the way to the beginning of the semester and I could just fill you in on the summer stuff? Like, not that much is gonna happen during the summer, but like, I don't know. What do you think? I would love to hear your opinions on what you think it should be, because yeah, I just personally think it would be so slow to start it from the summer. Like when I did A Master of Monsters does start in the summer before the semester starts, but it's like August. It's not like May. And so yeah, I just feel like maybe that's, I don't know, I just feel like it would be so boring. I feel like people would be bored. I feel like because of dark academia, I just feel like spending too much time in the summer when school is not in session is just not the vibes. It's not the dark academia vibes. Like, I feel like as a reader that would annoy me, but I don't know. Anyway, I would love to hear your thoughts. Please let me know in the comments what you think. But otherwise, I will stop going on and on, because I have been going on and on since I'm like looking at the timer for this clip. But anyway, before I go away, I do want to say I have been doing some continued reading, which I'm excited about. I've been reading, I've been making my way through the John Mars catalog. So I read The One by John Mars, which is about genetic matchmaking, which if you know my books, you're probably not surprised that I like the book about genetic matchmaking. I read that one like ages ago. I feel like in like 2019 or something like that. And he's since had other books that are like set in the same universe. So there's The Marriage Act, The Family Experiment, and The Passengers. I don't know if, no, I don't think The Passengers was first. I think The One was first. And so anyway, I've read them all now. I've read them all. I read The Marriage Act like a month ago, and then recently I read The Family Experiment, and then I was like, I'm locked in. And then I read The Passengers, and I love all of these books. I love all of these books so much. They're basically like set in like this, I guess, like futuristic era of like the UK. I think London is actually specifically where it is, where they have things like genetic matchmaking and like smart marriages, and like meta children, where you can like have like a AI child, and like self-driving cars and all this stuff. And so each book is like focused on some aspect of this like new technology that has come into this world. So it's like, it's sci-fi, but it's like domestic thriller. So all of it is like domestic, like juicy domestic thriller, just like drama, which was like, this is very much like inspiration for the couples retreat. Like that is 100% the vibes I was going for, was for like a sci-fi concept with the book actually about like domestic thriller and like reading like a domestic thriller, that sort of thing. Like I love that stuff I love that with his stuff. So anyway, I just want to say I made it through all of those books that are in that universe now. The One, The Passengers, The Marriage Act, and The Family Experiment, and I love them all. So I highly recommend, and I will put links down below. That's the only thing I'm going to say now. But yeah, now that I've talked your ear off for so long, I guess this is to make up for my shorter vlog that I did in it's a November vlog I posted in December. This is a December vlog posting in January. So I guess I'm making up for lost time, but I'm really excited to be done. I'm so happy to have a break, and yeah, I'm looking forward to joining you fresh in the new year. Of course it is the new year now while you're watching it, but you know, I'm gonna get there in time. So yeah, that's pretty much it. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And thank you so much for watching. Bye!
I wish I knew